it is harder to keep those healthy for the duration, right? And so that's going to make a difference ultimately in the harvest and the work that I need to put into the garden when it comes to maintenance.
Yeah. And I mean, tomatoes keep creeping up, and I do want to say this. If you have a shorter growing season, look for a variety that is, excuse me, is produces earlier, so that you can start to get your harvest a lot earlier than normal, and really get it so that it works for you, and you're not sitting there trying to figure out like, hey, why am I not getting a harvest? What am I doing wrong? When in fact, what the problem could be is simply just the variety that you're doing. So a lot of times we'll be missing certain things, we'll have issues, and you can fix it with the variety. And I think, just to go over real quick, some of the issues that we can fix would be, I mean, there's a long list, but you can do heat sensitivity, cold sensitivity, spacing issues.
Hmm.
And that goes into multiple directions as far as like how wide they get, how tall they get. Do they trellis? Do they not trellis? Disease resistance, pest resistance, fruit shapes. You could even get down to the way you preserve and what you do. There's so many things you can do with variety. It's insane. I've gotten to a point, and let me know if you do this too now, Batavia, or if you're getting there, where I'll look at my garden and say, hey, I'm having this issue. And one of the things that I'm starting to do is take a step back and look at the garden and say, hey, can the variety fix this issue? Can I change whatever issue I'm having simply by changing the variety and not really doing much of anything different?
Hmm. Yeah, I think I've stumbled into it, as I like to say, but from the different end. If I'm looking at a particular package of seeds and they'll highlight, oh, they may be drought tolerant, they may be resistant to a common disease with that particular vegetable. Um, I will stop and say, have I been having that issue? Right? Like, if that's a differentiator, is that an issue that I'm trying to resolve? And then I'll lean into whether or not, if it is, then okay, yeah, this may be a seed that's, worth purchasing. But if I'm not having that issue, like, it's on an even playing field. It gets no more points in my garden or to my consideration. So I look at it the opposite way. I do check every now and again if I have a reoccurring problem, to check to see if there are plants out there that are kind of designed to fight that.
Right.
The issue that I had with winter squash, butternut squash in particular, and I've only had it a couple of years where I've not been able to get the plants growing and then squash producing and ripening on the vine in the time I have in the growing season. Just based again on the last episode when we were talking about timing, so that plays a factor. And so what I looked for was, or what I came across was, a smaller variety of kind of winter squash that's very similar to butternut squash. It was the honey nut squash that I grew this past season, and it's going to mature. It's going to actually produce fruit and then mature much quicker than your traditional butternut squash. Problem solved. And it's actually better tasting, if you ask me.
So I'm not exactly impressed with you right now, because honey nut squash is one of the squashes I was super excited to grow last year and totally forgot to grow. So I'm not happy. You keep bringing it up too. I don't know if you realize that, but you
Yeah.
keep rubbing it in my face. That's what a good friend does, everybody.